Welcome to the Magdalene Voices, giving voice to those sounds for centuries through sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls. I'm your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Maria Estella. I serve spiritual entrepreneurs, Magdalene's rising, and radiant beings just like you with the expansion and growth of yourself and your business, aligning you with your deep inner truth, bringing to life that which you're here to birth, and supporting you in expressing your soul's divine purpose through your being and your doing in this lifetime. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to join my newsletter to stay connected and updated. You can do so on my website, mariaestella.com/community, where you can also find previous episodes and their show notes. And if you have ever wondered about your Magdalene connection and calling, and whether you are a Magdalene, I invite you to download the Magdalene Blueprint I have created for you. Go to mariaestella.com/AYM to get it. Before we dive into today's topic, I have a short announcement. The Magdalene Rising Sacred Membership Circle's September theme, Love as Your Way, Expanding Love and Dissolving Fear in Your Life and Business, is up. So if you're someone who loves to be guided into deep self-discovery, leading to powerful revelations, insights, and understanding, go to mariaestella.com/circle to find out more. Hello, Radiant One, and a very big and a very warm welcome to today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. Today I am diving into a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It is my core principle, my core philosophy for everything that I do and am in this world, and that goes whether it be in my business or in my personal and private life, whether it's with my clients or really the offset or the glasses with which I view the world, and the filter through which I filter things or see things in the world. And it's a core principle or philosophy that I shared with the members of my sacred membership circle this month in the theme called Love as Your Way. But I'll be talking more about that at the end. So if that interests you, stay till the end. However, I also did share it with my community, my newsletter, and had a wonderful reaction to it, and had people reach out to me and say how it really spoke to them. So I thought that I would share it in depth in this episode. So the principle, I don't know if to call it either a principle or a philosophy, because it's really more of a principle. It's really the basis, like I said, of my being and my doing, my actions in this world. And I've shared it. I share this whenever I talk about this topic, is that I truly wish that it had a very brandable name or marketable name. It doesn't really have that, or at least I haven't received it or found it yet. It's the principle that I call love with love. And before we dive into it, if this is the first time that you're ever hearing of me or seeing of me, then I just want to start out by saying that I am not one of those people or coaches or facilitators, teachers even, who will have you busting through your blocks or faking it till you making it, or those are really not my way. That's not my way in the world, and it's not the way that I teach or preach. It's not the way that I coach or mentor. It's not the way that I catalyze or facilitate. For me, it is really, really about deep down love, and I think that it is it's not a reaction board. It's more of a it's another way than the one that the world currently is used to. Because what I see in the world is that we've become so accustomed to the shadow shadow masculine ways of doing things. We've become accustomed to a patriarchal, hierarchical system that doesn't really include all of us. It doesn't include justice for those who are being targeted because of their race or their sexuality or their gender or whatever else way that they seem to be quote unquote diverging from normalcy, because really, what is normal? And for me, the love with love principle is another way. It's a path that leads us back into wholeness, back into alignment, and back into truth. And at its core, works from within and then out in the world. And so the love with love principle is really based in a choice I made about, I want to say 10 or 11 years ago, maybe even more, about wanting to have my life be led by love. And I naively thought that choosing to do so would mean that the heavens would open, the angels would descend, and rose petals be strewn, and every fear or issue or challenge or whatever else I had going on in my life would be removed. And it's not. And I'm sure that if you're listening to this and you're on the path, your awakening path, you've probably discovered that even though we make that choice for love and expanding love in our lives, then that doesn't come through the removal of your free will. It doesn't come through the removal of your obstacles and the blocks that you and the challenges you face in your life, but it comes through the returning, I guess, to love, and the returning home to your connection with Source, and from that place dissolving love. So the circle theme for September is called Love as Your Way, expanding love in your life and dissolving fear, or expanding love and dissolving fear in your life or business. And the reason why it's dissolving and not busting through or overcoming or shattering or any of those words is simply because for me there is a continued process in that, so that if we use the same methods to quote unquote bust through the blocks or shatter the fears, or then in my experience they only return over and over and over again. However, when you expand from a space of love and thus dissolve the fears or the worries and the concerns and the doubts and all of the many, many expressions that fear has in our lives, then we really heal the core, the root of that fear, and that means it will not come back. And if it does, it's only like a feathery sense rather than like a panicking sense. And so for that reason, I don't ascribe to those what I call the shadow masculine ways of healing, or because I simply don't think that they work. Yes, I think that you can achieve some great results. Yes, I do believe that you can see gains and whatnot and happiness in your life by quote unquote doing or using those things. In my experience, it's not a permanent effect. It is something that you will then quote unquote be forced to do over and over and over again. So so for me, and for those who are within my community and those I serve, I offer another way, and that way is the way of love. Essentially, it is the way that for me as a Magdalene, and the way that I view the world, or the way that I view what Yeshua and Mary Magdalene were here to teach. That is for me what they taught at its essence. It's very important to say, and this is also expanded in the the guide and the workbook of the September theme for the circle, is that there are some very common misconceptions about love, or leading with love, or choosing love as your way. And that is being a doormat, and it is quote unquote turning the other cheek, and it is not okay. For me, sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is saying no. Sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is to leave, or to get up and get out. As a spiritual being living in the world of form and matter, we come from other realms. Some of us come from other realms. We have experiences of other dimensions and so forth. We're spiritual beings in a human form. And thus we have the understanding, the knowing that we're all one and we're all connected. However, we live in the world, as I said, of form and physical matter. We live in the space where of human beings, and that is called the 3D, the third dimension. And that can be really rough. And by if you choose to, knowing that you are more not off this world but in the world, doesn't give you an out in terms of taking care of what's going on in this world. So emotions like anger or hate or jealousy or fear, or however else, because again, fear has many different expressions. Whatever else comes up in this world, it is not to be ignored. It's not to be suppressed in any way. It's to be transformed through your being and your doing. And using spiritual principles to say that we're all just one is really a form of spiritual bypassing, and it is not only devastating, it's actually it is devastating, but it's also very dangerous in this world, because it leads to again, spiritual bypassing, and that can actually ensure that we don't, as spiritual beings in human form, create the justice and for all, and so it's not just for you, it's for all. So in the guide and the workbook, I go over the most common misconceptions about love, and like I said, one or two of those is like, you have to be a doormat and you have to turn the other cheek, and nothing could be farther from the truth in my mind. In fact, it is dangerous to do so. So choosing love with love. If we want to dive into the principle of choosing or love with love, it's really very simple. And what I've found in all of the work that I've done over the past however many years is that very often those things that are simple are so simple that they actually end up being complicated, because for our egoic mind and for our human brains, ego minds, it simply cannot, quote unquote, wrap its head around the idea that all you gotta do is use, quote unquote, love with love. Because the egoic mind, or the human mind, is used to finding pathways or ways out, and staying stuck, and even though it may not be serving you, staying in fear is better than what you don't know. And so I want to, as I dive into the principle, I want you to remind you that the simplest things usually are the most efficient and most effective, but they're only the most efficient and the most effective when you apply them, when you do the work. Simply reading about it, simply listening to it or watching it will not serve you. It won't do anything. It'll just be another episode. It'll just be another book. It'll just be another program. It'll just be, you'll just glide through it. And so do not throw it out because it sounds too simple. Love with love. Well, everybody can know that. So in order for me to explain the principle, it's again, like I said, it's really simple. So stay tuned. So here it goes. So the first choice for love is an easy choice, because no one, I think, on this planet, if you went to them and said, will you choose love in all of your actions and all of your doing, all your actions and all your being? And it's like, yeah, duh. Yeah, of course I'm going to choose love. Like who wouldn't choose love? That's a very easy yes to say. And then comes the actual implementation of that principle. And in that actual implementation is where things get tough and rough, and things starts to tumble and so forth. And to me, of course, this is the fun part. It's not fun when you go through it, but it leads you to a place, and that's probably that is the reason for this whole episode, is because the place that it leads you to, the place of deep satisfaction, of content, of fulfillment, a sense or a feeling, not even a feeling or emotion, because that's tied to the body, but there's this sense that is otherworldly. There's this sense of content, no matter what you got going on in the world, no matter what challenges you are faced with, and obstacles and so forth seems to be put in your path. Then once you got the love with love principle anchored safely, or not safely, but anchored within and implemented, you'll experience that sense of knowing that I can do this. Like, I can do this. And not only that, your level of joy will rise, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in your personal life or private life or at work or in your business. It's got everything to do with who you are as a spiritual being in a human form. The second part is, like I said, is where things get rough. And that is once you start to implement, once you make the choice, I'm choosing love. Love is my choice. This is what I want to lead with in my life. Then everything and anything that is not in resonance with that truth will be brought up for you to heal, and for you to awaken to, for you to unveil, and for you to clear and dissolve from a space of love. And that is what I have found is very often the hardest of the hardest, because we are so used to lifting others up. We're so used to supporting others, acknowledging others. We're so used to seeing the light in others. But for us to turn the mirror in and look at ourselves and love ourselves and acknowledge ourselves no matter what comes up is, at least in my experience, probably one of the most difficult things to do. We can easily, that is, in my experience, I've found it is far easier to forgive what someone else has done to us rather than forgive ourselves for what we believe is our mortal sins, rather than mistakes to be corrected or errors to be brought, made right. And we would much rather, like I said, forgive others rather than forgive ourselves. We would much rather acknowledge others for their greatness than acknowledge our own. And that is essentially the key. And the thing is, by acknowledging your own greatness, by choosing to love yourself, and I don't remember where I saw this, but someone said that in this world, the most radical, revolutionizing thing that you can probably do is to love yourself, to truly and fully love yourself. Because when you do, your capacity to love others and to love your life and to love the quote unquote the world expands. Again, this is not about covering shit with honey. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about some airy fairy fluffy everything is just love and light kind of love. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of love that sees truth, recognizes truth, and works to align itself. You working to align yourself with that truth, with that justice, and being and doing that in the world, which is the most aligned with that for you and quote unquote for others. I believe that once we are in resonance with that, once we have cleared out the quote unquote muck within, like all of the dirt and that's what I call limiting beliefs and self-sabotage and blocks within. That's what I call muck. Once we've cleared that, when we clear that, our capacity to embrace others expand exponentially, and that is where the deep knowing and the satisfaction comes in. One of the ways, like I said, one of the ways to expand love in your life is through the acknowledgement of yourself, through the forgiveness of yourself, and also through, because again, it's not about just forgiving, but it's also about realizing that sometimes in our lives we do things that are out of alignment with our truth and is out of alignment with who we really are at our core. And when we do that, it's important to clear up the mess. It's important to, ask for forgiveness. It's important to correct our mistakes and our errors, knowing that they're not mortal sins. So that's, one of the ways, and that's whether it is, whether you listening have a business or not, these principles can be applied. I, of course, being who I am, work with these principles with my clients and also, within myself and within my work. But I'm hoping to, like I said, inspire you to see yourself in a higher light, to see yourself in the light that I see you in, and in the light that your source sees you in, the light that your divine, the truth that your divine self recognizes about you. And again, that is probably the most radical thing that you can do in this lifetime, is to do that, because, as I said, as you do that, you expand your capacity. And I just want to make sure that I've gone on over everything that I wanted to go over through. Yeah. So the thing that I wanted to end with, and I want to say that if you listen to this episode and you have a question, you're more than welcome to either leave me a comment below this video, or tag me in the post that's going to be posted on social media. Then I will happily go in and see if I can answer your question or support you in any way if you've got a question about the Love with Love principle. Now, like I said, this month's circle theme. I have a circle called the Magdalene Rising Sacred Membership Circle. It is $33 to be a member, and that's for a month. And you can come and stay. You can come and leave. You can stay as long as it serves you, and then you can leave when you feel that it's time to go. There's no you don't have to stay for a certain amount of months. It's just come as you are when you are ready. And that theme for this month is love as your way. And in that theme, you will receive a guide and a workbook that will take you deeper into these, to this questioning, so that you can be supported in your self-discovery, in your unveiling, in your reflections, and most of all in your realization of who you are, and also of where your blind spots perhaps are, and what you can do in order to dissolve, again, to expand the love and dissolve the fears. And in the theme in the guide and the workbook, I go over the misconceptions again of love. I go over choosing love, setting yourself free, how you recognize love, because love has a million different expressions, and once you start to recognize how many expression it actually has in your life already, then you can expand from that space. And then again, expanding love in your life. And then we also dive into the fear side of it, because I think that's just as important in order, again, to be able to heal the roots of the root causes of what's coming up for you. And we go into fear of the mind. We go into why denying fear rather than suppressing it or ignoring it is important. And then we go into recognizing fear. Again, also, fear has many, many different expressions. And by being able to see them, like once you start to realize, oh, that's fear. That now I realize, like now I can see that, oh, this fear is here and now it's coming up over here as well, but it's really the same root cause. You can, rather than start to working on these different fears, you can see that they have the same root, and then you can dissolve it. You can dissolve it from a space of love rather than trying to quench it, or I think I've gone to that. And then finally, it's about dissolving fear. In this circle theme, I have also included, as always, an addendum for soulful entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs, and in that I go over the 4 C's, the most common fears that I've seen through my work, and help you to recognize that in your business and your life, again, in order to dissolve it and to expand from a space of love. So that was this week's episode of the Magdalene Voices. I hope and pray that it served you. As I said, if you have a question or a comment, go ahead and leave it right underneath this video, or find the post on social media. And if it served you, I would love for you to share it with a friend who could use this message. For now, take care. I love you. That is what I had for you in today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. For all of the deeds and the details, find the show notes on my website, mariaestella.com. Know that I would love to hear how it resonated with you and what you got from it. So tag me on Instagram or leave me a comment on either my website or YouTube. Finally, if it served you, please take a moment to share it with a friend or on social media. God bless.